Scorpio, this is your March 2022 soul story. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, this is a general reading. This is Romy. Thanks so much for tuning into the channel. I'm going to give you some key astrological dates to look out for and some intuitive messages with the cards today to help you navigate your way through the next few weeks. So we're opening up the energy of March for you, Scorpio, with the world. And I feel like this is a time where you're really going to be changing the dynamics in your life. You want to be showing up as your whole self. Now, because the progress in March isn't linear, you are going to be required at times to suspend judgment, and in some instances, I think, really challenge some of the assumptions that you've had as well, because they're rooted in some limiting beliefs that are now needing to be exorcised out of your life. The world, of course, indicates that something is coming to a point of completion and fruition, and there is a shift and a changing of cycles. Now, of course, we're going to be welcoming equinox energy on the 20th this month, and so it is a time where you get to come back into order, you reharmonize, and you have a balanced release of things in your life. Now, with Pisces energy, fellow water sign, we are illuminating that fifth house energy for you. And the antidote really to everything for you this month is to open your heart. And as wide as you think you're opening it, we're requiring that you open it even further. Every doubt that you have, every stress that comes your way, every challenge that surfaces is going to want you to shut down or to close or to self-protect. And yet, we need you defiant in staying open. We need you to give yourself permission to set a new standard for how you're going to allow your heart to really speak clearly and directly to you this month. You can't think or reason your way out of a feeling. The Four of Wands is saying that there is balance and stability that's coming in. And as the two figures look towards one another and they're sharing this really sacred ritual, this moment, binding, there is a sense of you coming back into a union or coming back into a place of much deeper understanding with somebody. And perhaps that's been as a result of that tremendous cycle that we've been through during the Venus retrograde. And on the 3rd, the Venus conjunct Pluto, which was the final in the storyline that played out back in December 11th and 25th. And so as we come to that culminating point, you know, there is an intensity there, but there's also very clear answers that should have been realized by you in terms of your important close love connections and relationships, to your own sense of value and worth and how you've been showing up. It also impacts on your sense of security and the money story that has impacted you. So this is a month really where we see you taking stock and coming to a new understanding of what, you know, needs to change, and some of the foundations that hold you and support you. That Four of Wands for me is always about looking at the environments with which you move through life, you know, the home that you reside in, the places of work that you are in, the environments that make you feel safe and secure. And the world says that there's a positive shift or change that's coming in connection to that. I feel though that it's important, Scorpio, that you don't spend too much time trying to convince other people of the choices and decisions that you're making, because in some regards I feel it's either that it's misunderstood or it will have potentially an impact on them. And so there's an upheaval that gets caused. You know, the Tower energy is coming in and saying that actually the very foundations with which you are operating under and living by are set to go through a bit of an overhaul. And so sometimes that can feel very uncomfortable, not just for you, but with everybody else who are, you know, maybe tethered to, you know, some of the ways that you're moving through the world right now. And so, you know, the foundations need to change. That's what the Tower is always telling us, isn't it? But the shock value, or sometimes the suddenness with which that can arrive can be a little bit shocking. Now for you it might not be so much of a surprise. You've probably felt it coming for a while, but it may be that you take this month to suddenly blurt something out, or suddenly finally make the change. You may even be on the end of hearing some news that is a bit shocking but not altogether surprising. And I suppose in some regards you don't need to show your full hand at this point either. Spirit are also saying that you can take some time to process and to be thoughtful and considerate as to what your heart is saying, because we do need you to show up in terms of an emotional response to whatever is playing out for you through the course of this month with that open heart. And if you are going to be setting new standards for yourself, that's important, because it's going to enable you to be able to operate in a new set of circumstances, and to all intents and purposes also to be able to coexist with a lot of very conflicting emotions perhaps. Now, as we all observe some of the pain and the suffering that's going on in the wider world stage, again, that's something that can really stretch our heart further than it's ever been, but at the same time also want us to switch off from the pain and the suffering. And so we feel it's so much bigger than us, and at the same time the theme that's coming through for the soul stories in March is that it always begins with us. And the Six of Pentacles says this is about you finding a deeper sense of balance and reciprocity within yourself. Are you being kind and considerate to what your mind, body and soul is asking you to do right now? Because if you're going to be part of the solution, if you're going to create a new foundation for peace for yourself and for the world with which you're living in right now, then you have to get on board with what's out of kilter and where you're out of step in your own rhythm. Because otherwise, trying to address anything that's outside of you from that flawed premise is just going to create more frustration and perhaps resistance, and not really allow you to see the true potential or the true weight or gravitas of actually what you have to bring to certain situations. Now on the 5th, we're going to see both Mars and Venus shift out of Capricorn finally and into Aquarian energy. We also have Vesta, the asteroid goddess, coming into Aquarius on the 10th of the month. And so here we're all being invited to orientate ourselves towards this humanitarianism and really seeking a deeper sense of personal freedom within our lives, so that we can express ourselves and take what we've learned, take the experiences that have helped to shape us, and really allow that to make you fearless in how unique, your uniqueness, your difference, and how you can bring that to bear and bring that through. Now, the Hierophant energy comes through with an air of Taurus. And so, of course, as your mirror energy, there's something there perhaps about the shadow and the rigidity, the stubbornness that's sort of fighting against that need to be a little bit more maverick and different and break free from the convention of something. And perhaps that's the delicate balance that we're trying to find for ourselves. But this month, the Hierophant has also been showing up because I feel like it's really a reminder of what you've been taught and what you still need to allow yourself to be educated about. It's about going deeper. It's about following the true trail of things to get to the real heart and the truth of something. It's not about just following tradition just for the sake of it. Sometimes we need to break with tradition. Sometimes we need to do things differently because our heart is telling us that. And in that 5th house energy, you have a whole explosion of new creative energy, but also the desire to want to come through with a deeper sense of commitment to romance. And that's about, how do I fall back in love with myself, with my life, with the things that matter to me, because it's from that place of deep passion that actually you can make the most difference, not just for you, but also for people whose lives you touch with everything that you say and everything that you do. The universe has really placed you here for a reason, Scorpio, and you can't lose yourself by constantly questioning who you are and whether you're doing things in the right way. You just got to keep moving forward. And even if you feel a little bit stranded still, it is a sign that there's something more to come. Something new is still waiting to emerge into your pathway. The Empress energy comes in ruled by Venus, and that Venusian theme is still very front and center stage. So what do you value within yourself, and how is that being expressed and radiating in all of the conversations, the thoughts that you think, the things that you want to create, the impact that you're trying to have in the world? But she also reminds you that you need to keep nourishing yourself. You also need to nourish the things that do sustain you, and put time and energy into the people that you do want to spend time with, or that you do feel you want to be a part of what your future looks like. The Empress comes in with a very generative and generous energy. So there's something I feel that you want to share, or that you have to give through the course of this month, and it's perhaps finally the right time. You know, you may have been feeling like you were holding back for a while, in terms of just feeling either this person isn't ready to receive it, maybe the world isn't ready to receive it, maybe I'm not in a place where I can actually give right now. But there is something that's emerging now in this month of March that I feel like it's now or never. You can't kind of hold back on this anymore. And there's a strong indication with that Empress that actually, in spite of some of the turmoil or the conflict, and even still feeling that sense of being a little bit displaced or out of balance with yourself, you can still make an enormous meaningful gain and growth through the course of this month. Now, you may also be looking to commit or invest specifically in those relationships with female energies who you feel are trying to set you on the right course. So this may be, a female boss, it may be a connection to a mother, or somebody who's very significant or has an influence right now that is showing you the way or showing you something about yourself. This matters because it's unearthing perhaps something that you've been neglecting within yourself. And I think that's more likely to be about the soul tending, taking care of that inner child, mothering yourself, being that inner parent. And so there is likely to be some sort of a mirror energy coming up for somebody who's just, even through their words or their presence, or even as you observe them, they may not be very close to you, but you're just watching something play out and actually realizing that's how I need to be operating, in my own pathway right now. So we've got a full moon coming in the sign of Virgo on the 18th of the month, and we're invited to surrender something here, and yet you look a little bit precarious. You look like you're trying to hold on too tightly to something. There's plenty here, okay? So there's not going to be any sense of a loss. Sometimes we have to give up a little to make even more. And with that Six of Pentacles, there's an indication here that you might be needing to make an investment. The Four of Pentacles suggests that the resources that you have available are enough, and that there can be more that can be generated as a result. The Empress is further strengthening that. Here's where you might get some fears being activated though, because remember, the full moon is going to draw up to the surface things that have been hidden and unseen. So you might be challenged a little bit in and around your money story, wanting to do something, wanting to make a shift or a change to, perhaps something very close to home, within the home improvements. There might be something within your business, or even the investment into a relationship and what that looks and feels like. So there's bigger questions that are going to be asked of you. And remember, as we make our way into Aries season, 6th house for you is really going to illuminate how you want to show up in terms of being of service. But it's also the way in which you take care of yourself and the resources that are available to you. That includes your energy, by the way, Scorpio. Remember, your energy is expensive, and so again, that there's a reminder to be very discerning through the course of this month on where it's going and how it's getting used up, because that's going to have a direct correlation as to how quickly you see things come together for you. If you're overextending in one area, there's going to be a shortfall somewhere else. So it's about trying to find a sense of moderation and balance across the board that makes sure that you're included in the equation, Now that full moon in Virgo is at 27 degrees, so it's very potent in the energy it's bringing, which can be very healing with the earth medicine that it gifts us. We also have a sun sextile to Pluto, and so that charge of energy wants to bring about a more permanent adjustment for you. And I feel this is very much for you, Scorpio, this month about the energy of resources. You know, it's either about time or money or health. You know, there's something, it's like we are trying to get a little bit ahead of ourselves because we know we're going to need to expend more perhaps over the coming weeks and months. The Page of Pentacles is an indication here to be open, actually. Open in your mindset, particularly to learn new things. I feel like there may be an invitation or an offer, or even the chance to kind of upskill yourself or learn something. It's almost like you're waiting here, you're waiting for the green light, you're waiting for the sign or the indication or being given permission, or even to hear the news that you're in or you've got something or you can move ahead. I have no doubt that's going to be on its way. It may come in a little bit more suddenly or in an unexpected way, so keep an eye out for that, particularly around that full moon. It's worth noting that we also have a couple of squares that are going to be happening. One on the 19th between Venus and Uranus, and then one on the 22nd with Mars and Uranus. Now, you know, of course, Uranus wants to bring in very shocking, surprising events that are all about breaking free from convention, having that revolution. But with a square, it can feel like it's putting us under pressure. It can feel uncomfortable. And with Venus and Mars being activated here, again, it can be close to home in our relationships. It can impact on our money story, but it can also reflect on how we're taking action. And so we can end up being very impulsive, or the actions that we're forced to take can feel very uncomfortable for us. But there's something about, you know, the bigger picture here. That world as your main energy guide for this month of March is saying that sometimes we just have to, you know, we have to look ahead, we have to look at the bigger picture, and we have to make, you know, these shorter term decisions that might not sit totally comfortably with us, but it is ultimately going to lend itself to getting us where we need to be, or allowing us that expansion and growth. Remember, the tower is going to fundamentally break something down, but when it's broken down, we have the opportunity to have a breakthrough, and that is important to remember. So right after that full moon, we invite the sun into Aries on the 20th, and the equinox. Mercury is conjunct with Jupiter. So there's big boosts of energy at that new astrological time of the year. And there's an indication with the energy of the King of Swords that you need to kind of almost suspend your emotions at this point, which is interesting because overall the theme, I think, is about keeping your heart open. So there's now this requirement in your part as we get to the end of the month to say you've been led by your heart. Now you're going to be asked to make choices and decisions that are going to require you to come back into resonance with some logic, and think analytically and practically about, okay, how is this going to work? It's almost like your heart's going to get you there because that's what you need. You need to sort of just default to it because it will carry you over and through any challenges, and help you traverse any difficult situations, because the passion will just be enough. And then at some point we arrive there and we think, okay, now we need to kind of dig a little bit deeper, and we need to look at our experience, what we know and who we know, because I feel the King of Swords is also indicative perhaps of you being able to lean on somebody or seek out practical advice or the real insight from somebody who knows what they're talking about. I think that's going to be important because, again, if you're likely to hear something, or there's a sense of not knowing where you stand or how to move something meaningfully forward, I do think the universe wants to show up in a way that can give you that support or kind of just illuminate something that you've missed. Now, I also think there's going to be a need for you to try to find reason with somebody, and that might be a little bit challenging, right? You might feel that someone's coming in on a little bit more of an aggressive stance or feeling a little bit more hostile, and the energy could feel just really difficult to find that point of connection. Again, there'll be that desire on your part to want to shut down. But remember, your desires are here as the vehicle to really help you to evolve and to reach an enlightened state. So you have to honor the gift that they are. They're not here to cause you suffering. The suffering comes often from when we sort of realize or perceive how far away we are from those desires being met. And that King of Swords could also indicate that distance between where you are now and where you want to get to, and just feeling the frustration or the coldness or the lack of growth that's around that. But it's not really true. You know, we have to remember in Pisces season often, especially with that stellium of energy with Jupiter and Neptune in the sign, it can activate the illusion and the fantasy of things. Now we're cutting through that with the Tower, so you definitely get the truth in these seismic changes and shifts that come to light for you, whether they're happening on an internal level, just in terms of your own breakthrough, or things that you're seeing happen around you. But we have enough of that heart energy, we have enough of that world showing up with the Empress that says the cycles and the seasons are in perfect order and alignment here, and you can expect things to start to turn favourably for you. You have to orientate yourself towards that knowing and trust in that process. It matters. So we're going to be enjoying a second new moon, depending on where you are in the world, right at the end of the month, so the 31st, 1st of April in Aries. And again, I feel that you're being invited to be very direct with yourself and others at that point. It's the perfect jumping off place, you know, from the foundation that you've now created that's a little bit more stable, knowing what you now know. And I think that the idea or the way that you arrive at something as you approach that new moon, especially as Mercury also shifts into Aries, gives you the impetus to just be like, okay, I'm all in with this. I am all in with this. The timing has never been better. And even if you are still feeling a little bit ill-equipped or a little bit doubtful of yourself, you're probably going to receive that energetic shove from the universe to just get on and do it. Okay? So let's take a look and see how the oracle cards just want to join this conversation. Just a little heads up, Scorpio, I have my own oracle deck that's going to be coming out for pre-orders later this month. I'm super excited about showing you that. You can receive a bit of a sneak preview and get all the details by following a link in the description in the comment section to sign up for a list to hear all about that, okay? Right, so the oracle card for you this month is First Breath. Beginner's Mind. Okay, I feel with this, first of all, let's look out around the equinox because it's happening on the 20th, but that 21st just feels symbolic because I think this is the point where something resets. There's like a really beautiful reset energy for you in March, okay? And it's okay for you to give yourself permission to say, I need to start over, or I need to come at this as if I wasn't laced with any of like the previous setbacks or disappointments or experiences that have left me a little bit jaded or disenchanted. This is an opportunity for you to really open up, keeping the heart, keeping the mind open to the new things that can start to show themselves about what you've been through and about what's still to come. And remember, like I said, the Hierophant there is wanting to educate you. There's something to be taught. So we have to give ourselves permission. And you're here with the Page of Pentacles, so I see you fully on board with this understanding in March, Scorpio, to actually just say, yes, I need to kind of give myself the chance to learn something new, because how I've been doing it or how I've been thinking, it just isn't working for me at this point. And I know that I'm being guided to do something different because there is something more for me here. Excuse me. Now remember what, like we said, the progress isn't linear. So it could feel like you're jumping all over the place in terms of what you think the right process should be. It's almost like you're beginning something and at the same time you're then having to like get to a point where you finish it. I don't know, it just feels like all out of order. But it will make more sense as you're in the flow of it. It's interesting, your astrological card is also first house, arrival. So it really beckons you towards this new pathway, and it's giving you an invitation here to say something is shifting and changing. You are now allowing yourself energetically to feel into a whole new level of understanding about how the world works, or how your spiritual progress is actually starting to really shape and change you at a much deeper level. But this is also about the sense of identity that you have and how that's shifting and changing. And remember that continuous South Node in your sign this year, Scorpio, is just constantly challenging you to keep letting go, to let go, release. Like, you've got to create all this space for the new things that want to show up for you. And that's important. I think Aries energy can be really supportive, you know, even though elementally it doesn't always feel like the most comfortable conversation. I think just the arrival of feeling that shift in the season is enough for you to feel a renewed sense of optimism about where you can make a difference in your life and with other people. And I think that will directly impact in some of the relationships where you've been struggling or have felt that tension has just been around for way longer than it needed to be. Okay, so this is a general reading for the month of March. I'm just going to invite you, Scorpio, to think about a personal question that we might not have covered in the main spread. Okay, we're just going to pull a couple of cards for you. Now, if you're just new to the channel, the extended reading gives you the chance to listen for another 20 minutes or so to deeper messages around this month, and also obviously to cover off your question. And it's a way to support my work in the channel, and I'm deeply grateful for those of you that invest in me in that way. Okay, so we're going to clarify the energy of the world. This is so we can get some deeper messages for you. We've got the Ten of Cups coming in again, this beautiful sense of things coming to a point of fruition. Three of Pentacles, I like this for you. Knight of Cups, beautiful. There's just a lot of good energy that's coming in very supportively on the heart level for you this month. I think it's helping you to believe in yourself again, or to believe in the things that once mattered to you, that perhaps you felt a little wayward or lost along the way. Okay, so the Tower again is bringing in the Four of Pentacles. It's where you've been clinging too tightly, you know, we have to kind of release you. Okay, Four of Swords and the Temperance, just a little bit of a heads up around your energy levels this month. We also have another air sign coming in, Libra, Aquarius or Gemini with that Queen of Swords. There's some trust things that are surfacing around this month for you. We'll go into that a little bit more. Okay. Can I get what I need to get where I want to go? Kind of feels like a question that will be coming up for you this month, Scorpio. A lot of beautiful feminine energy that's coming in to support you this month. Nine of Pentacles, I like that. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Scorpio, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you find this continues to resonate as the energies unfold this month. And if you're joining me for the extended, I'll see you there. Beautiful, bye.